Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into the mind of, well, one of our era's most influential figures, Bill Gates.
That's right. And our source material for this deep dive comes from some really insightful excerpts from his chat on the Jay Shetty podcast.
Specifically, the one titled, Bill Gates Reveals, I Was Wrong About Success.
Yeah, exactly.
So our mission today is really to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, the surprising insights from his reflections.
You know, how he built a world-changing company, his personal growth, his views on tech, philanthropy.
And the future of society. Get ready for some aha moments, because there's so much to unpack here.
What's fascinating, I think, is the chance to get behind that public persona.
Yeah, to connect the dots, right? Between his early life and the global impact he has now.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's kick things off. Let's explore the foundations, the empire, and his personal growth, starting with that legendary hardcore drive.
Right.
Gates himself describes his early Microsoft days as having this monomaniacal focus.
Yeah, he even said giving up weekends, vacations, it wasn't some big sacrifice.
No, it was something he just loved. He seemed to feel incredibly lucky, you know.
That early computer access, yeah. Gaining thousands of hours of programming experience.
And getting great feedback constantly, that iterative loop.
And he often talks about how that early Microsoft team had to be hardcore to make it happen. It wasn't about the money, not for him, not at the start anyway.
No.
It was this intense joy, like being part of something that would be very empowering.
That vision.
Yeah.
A computer on every desk and in every home.
Running Microsoft software, of course. And that vision, it was initially ridiculed, you know?
Really?
Oh, yeah. But they saw the potential. The exponential improvement of chips. They could see computing becoming, well, essentially being free.
That passion you mentioned, where work wasn't really work, that must have been key.
It really makes you ask, what does it take, you know, to revolutionize an industry? How much is passion versus just sheer effort?
Or maybe that singular obsession is part of it?
Could be. Is that still the model today, though? Or has it changed?
Good question. Well, to understand that drive, we probably need to look at his parents' influence, too. Gates has been quite open about that.
Very much so. His mother, for instance.
He said she accepted that you were different from your peers.
Right. Even with teachers giving conflicting advice, like skip a grade versus hold him back.
He even remembers writing this very embarrassing 200-page report on Delaware as a kid.
An early sign of that intense concentration, maybe.
You think so, yeah?
And his mother definitely had high expectations. She pushed him to do more.
Sometimes indirectly.
Sometimes indirectly, yeah. And her dictate, as he called it, okay, if you are successful, you have to give back. That stuck with him.
Even after she passed away early, he says he still hears her voice, sort of pushing him, I've got to do this and do that.
And she also worked on making him civilized, you know?
Yeah.
Table manners, things like that.
Yeah. And encouraging him to talk to adults.
Which helped him develop that outlook, like, okay, where am I headed? Pretty young.
But then there's the contrast with his father.
Completely different, calm and thoughtful.
Gates called him his one person who was so sophisticated and on my side, especially during early troubles.
Offering wise and very helpful advice at those key moments.
He told that story about his dad using the phrase, I hear you, during a contract issue.
Yeah, that just blew my mind, Gates said. Because it was subtle. It found common ground without being provocative.
Such a different approach.
Totally. Gates felt his dad's style was more love and logic. Clear expectations, clear consequences, but delivered in an unemotional way.
Unlike his mother's emotional intensity.
Right. And he mentioned trying to blend both styles in his own parenting, though he gives Melinda all the credit for raising their kids.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How those contrasting influences, the intensity and the calm wisdom, shaped him.
It really is. It arguably forged someone who could handle both the big vision and the practical steps.
So, given all that intensity, it's maybe a bit surprising to hear him talk about therapy.
Right. Especially back then. He saw a therapist at Dr. Cressy at a young age. He said it was a very rare thing.
Most clients were arguing couples, apparently.
And Dr. Cressy never belittled him, just gently helped him see that fighting your parents really has no purpose.
And that they really do love you, they're on your side.
Gates even admitted feeling foolish later, thinking about how he was trying to show off his smarts to the therapist.
Wow.
But Dr. Cressy helped him realize his parents were just worried, you know, was he ready to go out in the world?
And Gates says he's benefited to this day from those kind of conversations with therapists.
Especially when extreme things happen. It really shows, doesn't it? Early self-reflection Maybe getting some outside perspective can be so valuable.
For resilience, for navigating complexity later on. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pivot now from tech visionary to global philanthropist. And you can't talk about that without talking about competition, especially Steve Jobs.
The arch-rival nemesis narrative.
Exactly. What was that relationship actually like?
Well, Gates describes it as a fantastic relationship, especially early on.
Really? Working together?
Oh, yeah, closely. On the Apple II, the Macintosh, he said their skill sets were complementary.
Jobs' design genius, Gates' engineering focus.
Exactly. That allowed us to get along, he said. And later, when Jobs was sick, they had like 5 different conversations.
Talking about kids, computers.
Yeah, and they both apparently admitted they got that one wrong about computers and education.
That they hadn't transformed it like they'd hoped. That's a big admission.
Huge. And Gates also shared his early philanthropy ideas with Jobs.
About child mortality.
Yeah, saying, a lot of children die and we don't do much to stop that, which apparently intrigued Jobs.
So it sounds like there was real respect there, maybe even friendship beneath the rivalry.
It seems so. United by shared challenges, maybe personal growth that went beyond just business. Pretty interesting.
It really is. And that brings us to wealth, philanthropy, responsibility. Gates has said some powerful things here.
Like, this is a world where somebody can have over $100 billion.
These fortunes are almost illegitimate unless, in a very smart way, given back.
Wow. It's a strong statement. He's clear he doesn't want to just create some dynasty for his kids.
He sees philanthropy as having potentially outsized results.
Right, especially where governments might be risk-averse or in poorer countries lacking capacity, like tackling malaria.
He finds the wealth metric easier to calculate than the actual philanthropic impact.
Which is probably true. He mentions the Giving Pledge, talking to Bezos, Zuckerberg, Ellison, noting they all get a bit more reflectable as they age.
Reflective, yeah. That maybe suggests a shift in thinking among that generation.
Possibly. A growing awareness about the societal side of their success.
And he shared advice with Zuckerberg, didn't he? Based on Microsoft's own antitrust issues.
Yeah, admitting it was a mistake, not engaging more with politicians back in the late 90s.
That's a key lesson, isn't it? Underestimating the societal context.
It can trip you up no matter how good the tech is. It definitely points to a shift, I think, from just accumulation to thinking about impact. Societal expectations are changing.
Okay, let's shift gears again. The digital age, its promise, its perils, starting with education.
Right, the unfulfilled promise there.
Gates sounds genuinely disappointed that computers have not made it so, wow, kids learn a lot more today.
He thinks the key problem is motivation. Current tools mostly help kids who are already super motivated.
Leaving others behind.
But he's optimistic about AI. He thinks this time around with these AI personal tutors, we might finally get that right.
Making learning feel relevant, giving kids a sense of success.
Yeah, he sees it as this radical shift where intelligence will basically be free.
Like computing became free.
Exactly, and not just for students in rich countries. He imagines AI helping farmers, pregnant women in poor countries too.
The potential seems enormous. Democratizing knowledge.
If we get it right.
If we get it right. Which leads to the flip side. The information dilemma. Free speech versus facts.
Yeah, he points out with social media, we're still arguing about what the policy should be.
Because the algorithms reward outrageous things, even if they're not factual.
And he sounds quite frustrated that his generation hasn't got a clear prescription for balancing free speech with, reasonable factual discourse.
He used the vaccine negativity during the pandemic as an example.
A stark one. Over 1 million people died who should have benefited from the vaccine, and he warns AI just heightens all of that.
It's a huge challenge. How do you have open debate without misinformation just running wild?
There aren't easy answers. He talks about the moral purpose of the U.S. being a shining light, a democracy that doesn't abuse power, reduces polarization.
And he thinks AI policies will be the most important thing in future presidential debates. That's a bold prediction.
It is. He drew that parallel to the printing press.
Right, the bestsellers being books about witches.
Yeah. Suggesting that new tech doesn't automatically mean beneficial use, especially at first. That's kind of a naive concept, he says.
He even admits he's tempted to click on those outrageous articles about political opponents.
It shows how human it is, right? We're maybe at this critical point where the tools meant to connect are actually driving us apart. How do we find that middle ground?
A massive question.
Yeah.
Okay, final segment. Reflecting on life, loss, lessons learned.
He shares quite personally here.
Yeah, about his childhood friend Kent's death, calling it the only traumatic event in an idyllic childhood.
And noting how little support there was for grief back then. Just, hey, buck up.
He admits it took him a long time to deal with that.
And he reflects on losing his mother, and Paul Allen, too, another key friend.
He found looking back for his book a little bit unnatural, because he's always been about looking forward.
But felt it was important, right, to honor people, share lessons.
It really shows how loss shapes perspective, even for someone with that kind of public success. It drives reflection. And it's interesting hearing him talk about mellowing over time, learning to work with people who are intelligent in different ways.
Not just his initial focus on math capacity.
He admits his early management style was based on how he managed himself very tough.
Which worked for people like him, but not as well for other people. That's quite self-aware.
It is. And his favorite mental health habit now.
Time reading and thinking by myself, often on very long walks.
And those famous Think Weeks he took as CEO.
2 full weeks, twice a year. Off alone, tablet for notes, no calls, no news.
He says while he loves quick thinking, most of his good work comes from that slow thinking, being reflective.
He even wonders if that need for calm is linked to being on the spectrum.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? In our always-on world, how do we find our own Think Weeks?
Yeah, space for creativity, avoiding burnout.
Okay, let's wrap up with his personal rules for living. Best advice he ever heard.
Finding what you really enjoy doing. Simple, but powerful.
And the worst advice.
Not to take risks, especially when you're young. He says failure is, probably a better teacher.
He wasn't scared dropping out of Harvard.
No, but hiring people and realizing he had to make payroll, that scared me.
Huh, that's relatable. And the most important problem for the smartest people to solve right now.
He thinks it's shaping AI.
And his advice to big business leaders on AI, don't rely on them to slow down.
Pretty much. You can't count on them, he says. Their instinct is full speed. Only government can say, wait a minute, slow down. He feels real urgency there.
And is ultimate law for everyone.
The golden rule. Treat people how you would like to be treated. A universal truth in his eyes.
Wow, what an incredible deep dive that was. From childhood influences, Microsoft's beginnings, right through to philanthropy, AI, personal well-being.
Yeah, we've touched on so much. The importance of passion, how leadership evolves, tech's complex role in society, and the real value of self-reflection and empathy.
Especially in a life aimed at global impact. So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something maybe provocative for you to think about. If we genuinely buy into the golden rule, like Gates suggests, and we see the progress humanity has made, relentless violence, lower child mortality, what kind of radical new service lists beyond just wealth could we create?
Like new ways to measure impact.
Yeah, new ways to inspire the next generation to tackle the world's biggest problems with that same kind of intensity Bill Gates brought to computing.
That's a fascinating question to ponder. What does that next level of impact look like?